As the year comes to an end, the Migori East Chorale wishes to invite you to their launching, which is scheduled to take place on 10th November 2024. The event shall be presided over by Pastor Hezron Achora from Southwest Nyanza, and the MC of the day is going to be MC Enoch Kaunda. Host pastor is Pastor Evans Okoth Ambani, famously known as Ambapo Ambapo. And the album title is Demas. And we look forward to featuring songs like Ahadi and Tawila Hisopo. This is an event that you're not supposed to miss. Guest choirs are going to be the Ebenezer Ministers, the Samonet Ministers Kisii, Paligate Singers Migori. We shall also listen to the Exodus Ministers, Kadika Church Choir, Ombo Church Choir, and many others. Not forgetting our very own host choirs like Migori East Children Ministry. We also have Migori East Ambassadors Choir. We have Migori East Young Adults. We have the Advent Family Ministers and Migori East Church Choir. Don't miss this great occasion.
Good morning, and welcome to the vibrant morning here in BTV Kenya. I'm your host, Gagi Isaiah. Today we are not with my co-host, Lennox Odede, because he's out to gather news for us. Remember, BTV brings you vibrant morning, where we give you a review of People Daily brief here from us here at BTV Kenya. And remember, you can also leave a comment and also share your views. That is, go to our Facebook page, Blackman TV Kenya. You can also move or go to our YouTube channel, BTV Kenya, and also ask leave a comment. Let us know where we are reaching you from. Remember, your opinions, your questions, your comments are very important to us, as they help us evaluate our progress and move on each and every day. Now, moving on to what we are having for you in the People Daily newspaper. Now, looking at the cover page of the People Daily newspaper, we see the cover story. The main story is Ruto scheme for the cover story, the big story of the newspaper People Daily, that Ruto schemes for 2027 polls. That is in page 4 of the People Daily newspaper. With Raila in the bag, opposition nearly dead. Impeached deputy president severely wounded. President soothes the road to re-election comes 2027. Moving on, still on the cover page, we see impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua vows to teach Ruto a lesson. That is in page 3. The time to reckon is coming shortly. We will show them how we respond to our adversaries, he declares. That is in page 3. We'll also give you a brief on that to know what it is all about. And also, we also have another very painful story in the cover page. That is shock after CAPSEA candidate miss exam. That is on page 5 of the People Daily newspaper. Now, moving on, still on the same cover page, we have Oswago in deep hole over 1.3 billion tender deal. That is in page 3. We'll give you them as time moves, as we give you also on page 22. Engaging tourism as a means in the race to net zero emissions. That is what we have on the cover page. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not going to move systematically, chronologically from one page to another, but I'm going to jump, go forward, come back, and also give you what actually is in the People Daily newspaper so that we be informed. Now, starting with the cover story, that's the main story of the People Daily, we move to page 4. Let's see what page 4 is saying. Now, in page 4, a still Peru stories about, and the stories by Samuel Karaoke. Now, it says, after wooing his principal enemies and edging out former deputy into political oblivion, President could be steadily marching forward a second term due to lack of a strong challenger. Now, that's what the story is about. Now, the president will walk steadily into the re-election of 2027, his re-election for the second term, because there is no strong challenger. Now, costs to clear. On that story, you'll find that after winning the support of Raila Odinga and pushing his deputy into political oblivion, Ruto could steadily march to 2027, knowing there is no big opposition challenger to oppose him. Now, after Kisozi meeting with Museveni, remember the last time the president met with the Museveni and Raila retreated back home, faded from public limelight, and toned down his criticism on the government. And also, as for the battle Gachagua, his political inexperience is nothing compared to the vast experience that the President Ruto has today. Now, you can also grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read from page 12, from page 4. Now, let me give you a brief of what is in it. That's just tackling the first two paragraphs. President William Ruto seems to have trained his eyes on his 2027 on his path, and also after winning the support of his arch-rival Raila Odinga, who bestowed his eyes on to inherit and push his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua into politics. Now, you can also grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read into that. Now, still on matters touching on the president, on the same page 4, we have every Kenyan has a right to worship and sacrosanct, the president reiterated. Now, story by PSU, that is from the State House in Nairobi. President William Ruto yesterday assured Kenyans that his administration will not in any way interfere with the rights to religion. Ruto echoed the constitutional provision of the right of worship by all Kenyans and all religion. Now, at this time, the president was speaking during the Diwali celebration held at the State House in Nairobi. The head of the state declared that under his administration, there will be no limitation whatsoever to the religion. Now, you can grab a copy and read much more on. In page 3, we have Gachagua resorts to election threats as court ruling looms. Remember, the ruling on whether Kithure Kindiki should be sworn in and Rigathi case thrown away is looming, is at the corner. Now, what we see is that now Gachagua is back to threaten, he resorts to election threats. Now, what he's saying is that the impeached deputy president says Mount Kenya region voters will show its true colors. He says impeached deputy president Rigathi Gachagua has warned President William Ruto that Mount Kenya will teach him a political lesson in the 2027 elections. Now, this comes after the Senate and the check. You have grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read more comprehensively on that. Now, as we move on, we see also a story Now, patients' relief as rollout of SHA system shapes up. Remember, for the past 1 month, the SHA has been facing a lot of challenges, the system not working, but right now there is a relief because now the system is normalizing and you can log into the portal and register and get services as required. Hope is on the horizon for the out. You can also check that story by Munira Mandano. It is in page 2 of the People Daily newspaper. Please grab a copy and read more extensively on that. It is very, very important. You can read that. Remember, People Daily is a free newspaper. Just move to the vendor and pick your copy and read more comprehensively. Now, on the same page 2, state threatens to end contract of hospital frustrating UHC plans. Now, story by George Kibazo and Liz Mudon. It states that the government has threatened to terminate contracts with health facilities that are demanding for upfront payment of insurance premiums as a new outfit to address the challenges that have bedeviled the rollout of universal health care coverage, specifically the social health authorities. Now, that is also a story which I believe is of matters of interest. Please read more comprehensively. On the same page, detectives get 21 days to hold suspect in Siaya murder. Story by Eric Juma. Siaya High Court has given investigative officer Oliver Nabonwa 21 days to conclude investigations into the murder of Wells Fargo Human Resource Manager Willis Ayeko. Now, the suspect in Ayeko's brutal murder appeared before Siaya High Court Judge Jacob McCall more extensively to know what the story is all about. Now, moving into page 5, where now no exam shocker for 23 CAPSEA candidates. Now, criminal probe launched after termination. Story by Winston Cheresemi and Tony Wafula. Now, what is actually in the story is the CAPSEA shame. The grade 6 candidate of Silverbell Academy located in Kimumu Estate on the outskirts of Eldoret town were shocked to learn the school management had not registered them. Now, the candidates were shocked to learn that the school had not registered the grade 6 candidate for the CAPSEA exams, and also it later emerged that the examination materials were not from NEC. Now, to make it worse, the examination materials that those students actually took on or sat for were not from NEC, but instead were printed from one of the cyber in Eldoret. That's a very, very painful story. Now, let me just give you what's happening in the story. Now, as you move on, you realize that it also indicates that the school has never been registered. The school was never registered by the Kenyan government or to operate as a school. Now, this is calling on the parents to be very careful with the schools that we take pupils to. One of the things you should inquire, is the school registered? And for that, they need to produce the certificate of registration. Now, we see that this school began as a daycare and has evolved. That is from for admission 19 years ago, the school has not been registered, and this has really posed a big challenge as the parents are in agony. I don't know how you will feel when you realize that actually your son or your daughter you expected to sit for exam does not sit exam, and that is what they had been preparing for. So that is a story which I believe is very important. Please grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read into that more comprehensively. Nairobi set to commence building of governor's residence in Kilimani. Now that's a story by Alvin Mwangi on the same page 5, where City Hall has set to commence the construction of 290 million official residence for governor in Nairobi Kilimani Estate, with plans now in place to compensate 12 families currently residing in that designated area. And they say that those who will be affected will be compensated 50,000 shillings as part of the process in compensation that will be taking place as they are being displaced. Now you can grab a copy of your People Daily newspaper and read more on that story, as the Nairobi governor will now have a resident to put in, to stay in, to meet his people and all that. Now, Mathenge, UDA lawmaker behind term extension bid. Now, that story is in page 6 by James Wanjiku, says the push to extend the term of elected leaders is being engineered by some leaders. Now, Nyeri Town MP Duncan Mathenge is claiming that the push to increase the elective position term limit from 5 to 7 is being pushed by some of the UDA member of the parliament who want to derail the work of the deputy president. Now he says some 10 MPs and senators have crafted several bills to be presented in the parliament in attempt to discredit the Kenyan Kwanza government, said Mathenge, a key ally to Ruto, without naming the other lawmakers. Now Mathenge is saying in the parliament so that they derail, they portray the Kenya Kwanza government in bad lights. Now that's a story. I believe you can grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read more comprehensively. Now, the same page, having assumed or having taken the role of the opposition, now this is what Kalonzo is saying. Phone spying, he blames Ruto. The opposition now blames Ruto. Now, comments came after revelation that telcos are sharing with the police personal data of people of interest. Story by People Daily reporter state that the international human rights advocacy groups have also condemned the gross human rights violation in Kenya that amounts to breach of global treaties that the country has ratified. Now that is also part of that story. Now it says that the opposition now wants Kenyans for the phone spying, police phone spying that has been linked to the tracking subsequent abduction of the government critics. Now that's what Kalonzo is saying. Now you can also grab that copy and read more extensively on the stories and on that matter. Anniversary. Now, story by Kefas Otieno has revealed that Orange Democratic Movement will celebrate its 20th anniversary next year, marking 2 decades of political activism. Now, this was revealed by the ODM chairperson Gladys Wanga in Lare as she addressed the people regarding matters to do with ODM. You can also grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read more comprehensively. Now, still on the same note, we move back to page 3, where we have court affirms jail term for the 2 former IEBC bosses. Now, the High Court yesterday upheld sentences imposed on 2 former IEBC officials found guilty of irregularly awarding 1.3 billion voting material tender in 2013 general elections. Now, prosecutors had proved their case against the former IBC Chief Executive Officer James Wilson Sholei, a former Deputy Commissioner Secretary for Support Service role, found that the 2 failed to comply with the procurement laws when they acquired electronic voter identification devices for the March 4 months alone. The Directorate of Criminal Investigation said yesterday and call on the cooperation of the public to help to curb this. You can also grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read that story more comprehensively. We have also given you on that. We have also said about ODM. Now, Kenya joins convention to guarantee secure cyberspace. Now, a story by Zadok Angera. Move allows Kenyans to have a legal basis for international cooperation on cybercrimes and electronic evidence. Now, you can also grab a copy to read that story. Is in page 7, where it says cyberspace. Now, Kenya will now access opportunities for capacity building on matters of cybercrime, such as training of judicial and law enforcement. Convention also reconcile vision of the free internet, where information can freely flow and be accessed and shared with the need for an effective criminal justice response. You can read that story in page 7. Now, matters to do with the demonstration on page 7. Now, we know Nyamira has been on limelight. A lot is happening in Nyamira. Now we see nurses in Nyamira and Kisii down tools over frustration. Story by Evans Nyakundi. Nurses in Kisii and Nyamira counties have vowed to paralyze services in healthcare facilities over what they term as frustration by representative counties. Now, in Nyamira, the nurses officially embarked on their strike after a notice of 14 days they issued to government expired on Sunday night, while in Kisii, representative of the nurses vowed to boycott work as from November 1st. Now, the nurses from both counties, these are what they hold. They say there's poor working conditions, stagnation in job grades, and delayed salaries, as well as unimplemented collective bargaining agreement. Now, that is what they quote as the reason behind a demonstration that is going on, and not working strike in Nyamira and Kisii. Now, EACC obtained orders to seize assets. Story by Matthew Ndungu, still on the same page. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has obtained orders from High Court to seize unexplained assets worth 91,202,892 belonging to former Machakos County Executive